Welcome to this video series on renovating a marine steam plant. This is the fifth video in the series and covers installing the feed water pump and piping. I needed to make some elbows for the feed water piping. I use casting trees from PM Research for the elbows. These are great as they are relatively cheap and look very authentic. PM Research have great products and service. I'll put a link to their website in the description below. The first step was to cut the elbows from the casting tree using the bandsaw. This can be a little tricky due to the size of the elbows. I had to take great care not to get my fingers caught up in the saw. I cut a total of 3 elbows from the casting tree. I then held each elbow in the vise and filed the ends flush with the flanges. I could have milled the ends, however, filing is quicker and yields a similar result. I use Nicholson files for filing metal. They are excellent and get the job done. Then it's over to the milling machine to drill and thread the elbows. I hold each end of the elbow in the milling vise and check that it is square. I then line up a center drill to the center of the elbow. I don't usually measure to the center of the elbow flange. Calibrated, I will center the bit for drilling. The elbows are then drilled with a number 5 drill, which is tapping size for a 1/4 inch MPT thread. I drill each hole to a depth of 5/16 inches so that the holes drilled at each end of the elbow meet and create a path for the water to flow through the elbow. Here's a photo of the 3 completed elbows. These will be used to pipe from the feed water tank to the feed pump suction and then on the feed pump discharge. This is a hand boiler feed pump I'll be installing on the steam plant. The feed pump needs modifying before it is installed though. The suction and discharge will be modified to take 1/4 inch pipe fittings. Here's a commercial union in the lathe. The union has a 5/16 inch thread on one end and a 1/4 inch thread on the other. I turn down the 1/4 inch end so that it will neatly screw into one of the elbows I made earlier. I then rethreaded the end of the union with a 1/4 inch 40 TPI MPT die. This will allow an elbow to screw onto the union. I repeated the same process for the union connector on the discharge side of the pump. Here's a photo of the feed pump with the 1/4 inch elbows fitted on the suction and discharge sides of the pump. The feed pump is sat on a base cut from 1 inch square mild steel bar stock. The height of the base is very important to ensure the feed water tank outlet and the feed pump suction align. The diagram shows the relation of the tank outlet and the pump suction and the resulting height of the base required to ensure the piping will line up. Here's some video footage of me using the Heimer edge finder to set up the feed pump base for drilling the mounting holes. The Heimer edge finder is an excellent tool and it gets a lot of use in my workshop. It's a lot better than traditional edge finders. The beeps you can hear are me zeroing the digital readout once I've found an edge of the base. I'll be drilling 2 holes down the center of the base that are 5/16 of an inch from each end. With the chuck centered above the base and 5/16 of an inch from one end, I center drill for the first hole. Once the first hole was drilled, I countersunk it so that the head of the wood screw is below the top face of the base. This video footage shows the whole process of center drilling and countersinking the second hole. I used plenty of Tap Magic when drilling the holes. Tap Magic is a great lubricant and coolant. When drilling, it's important to retract the drill periodically to clear any chips from the flutes. This will ensure that the drill doesn't wander off-center when drilling. I test the countersunk hole with a wood screw to ensure the head of the screw is flush with or below the face of the base block. This sequence shows drilling and tapping one of the holes for the feed pump mounting screws. I had marked the position of the holes with a marker pen earlier. The first step is to center drill. Next, the hole was drilled to a depth of 3/8 inch using a number 43 drill. This is tapping size for a 440 TPI thread. With smaller drills, it's important to retract the drill often to clear any chips from the drill flutes. This makes the drilling process longer, but ensures a vertical hole is drilled. The hole is tapped using a 440 TPI taper tap. It's important to handle the tap lightly so that it doesn't break in the hole. Plenty of Tap Magic and a light touch helps to ensure the tap doesn't break. To keep the tap vertical, I use an old drill shank in the chuck. This acts as a tap follower and keeps the tap vertical. I turn the tap back to break off chips more often with smaller taps. You can usually feel when the tap starts to bind and then turn it counterclockwise to break off the chips. After tapping the hole, I clean the hole and tap with compressed air to remove any chips. Lastly, the hole is finished with a bottoming or plug tap to ensure the threads reach the bottom of the hole. Again, I take great care to avoid breaking the tap in the hole and clean out any chips with compressed air afterwards. I mark the position of the feed pump base mounting holes in the baseboard using a transfer punch and then drilled the holes. Here's a photo showing the feed pump base screwed to the baseboard. This photo shows the feed pump screwed onto the base and the interconnecting pipework between the feed water tank and the feed pump suction. I used a pipe union in the piping so that the feed pump can be removed easily in the future. With the feed pump mounted on the baseboard, the next step was to complete the piping between the pump and the boiler check valve. This clip shows me silver soldering a union cone onto a piece of copper pipe. I repeated this process on both ends of the pipe. It's important to ensure the union nuts are correctly installed on the pipe before soldering. After pickling and cleaning the copper pipe with a Scotch-Brite pad, it was installed between the feed pump and the boiler check valve. This completed piping of the feed water system for the steam plant. Here's a couple of photos of the finished feed water system, which includes the feed water tank, feed pump, and interconnecting pipework. I have one job left to do, which is painting the feed pump base block. However, I'll do this off camera. So that's the feed water system installed. Next, I'll be moving on to the steam system. There will be more videos of this project posted soon. Please like and subscribe to support my channel. Thank you.